Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about marking, lifting, and replacing the ball on the putting green and what happens to the ball when that occurs. We got a ball on the putting green, so what I'm going to do is simply mark the ball behind it. Now you can mark it on any side that you want to, as long as you get the ball back where it was. So I'm lifting the ball. Once I lift the ball, it's out of play. All right, now I'm going to clean it and so forth, and then I'm going to replace the ball, and as soon as I let it go, it's back in play. So we have a ball back in play. Now, if that ball were to move, I'm going to help it move a little bit, but if it were to move on its own like that, then I have to try to replace it exactly where it was. And if it were to move again like that, then I'm going to replace it again a second time, and if it still doesn't stay there it kind of goes. Then what we're going to do is place it as near as possible to that spot, not near the hole, where it will stay at rest. So I'm going to go here, not quite there, not quite there. That'll stay there. So now we have a ball in play. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the ball potentially moving at address here, one of the changes in the rules of 2012. Okay, Joe Hollis is going to walk up into get ready for his putt. Now he's put his club behind the ball prior to making his stance, so he's in his address position already, and now he's going to go ahead and take his stance like he's preparing to make a stroke. Now, if his ball moves in that case, he is deemed to have caused the ball to move at address, and he has a one-stroke penalty, and he must replace his ball. That is what I call the default position. That's what the rule says. Now, there's a change in the rule in the exception that says if something else may have caused his ball to move, then you can make a case that says, I believe something else might have caused my ball to move. Most of the time that's going to be wind. Now we're on the practice putting green here at the club, and it happens to be a very windy morning, so you might be able to make the case that if this ball moved, the wind might have caused it to move, but Joe will have to make that case to his fellow competitors if that happens. And if it does, there would be no penalty, and he would play the ball as it lies, because in that case he would not have caused his ball to move. Otherwise, he would have caused it to move, because that's what the rule says. He would incur a one-stroke penalty and replace his ball. So in cases where you cause your ball to move, you incur a one-stroke penalty and replace your ball. But in this circumstance, under this change of the rules, if you believe something else caused the ball to move, and slope of the green is not one of those, folks. It has to be wind in most cases. Then you would be able to make a case that something else caused the ball to move, and you would play the ball as it lies with no penalty. Well, we're here to the left of the 8th fairway, and I'm sure some of you have experienced this, where a ball has come to rest on the cart path here to the left of number 8, and the player's got a fairly clear shot up to the flagstick, but he may not want to hit it off this cart path. Although, as many of you know, Alex White did just exactly this a year or so ago. He just went ahead and played it right off this cart path and knocked it in the hole for a double eagle 2. So that may very well be the option that you want to take, is hit the ball right from the path. But if you don't want to do that, you have the option to take relief from this immovable obstruction. So we're going to show you how to take relief under Rule 24, which is the rule for immovable obstructions. Now the first thing we have to do is determine the nearest point of relief. Now as you look where this ball is situated on the cart path, it's sort of on the right portion of the path. Now some of you might think that if the ball is on the right part of the path, you automatically ought to drop it on the right side. Or if it were on the left side of the path, you ought to automatically drop it on the left. That's not so. In determining the nearest point of relief, what we do is we determine a point that is the point where the ball would lay nearest to where the ball currently lies, that if the ball was positioned there, that you would not have interference from the condition, in this case from the cart path. So what I'm going to do is, as Joe Hollis walks up, he just sees that his golf ball is in this situation, and I'm going to help him walk through this situation and get him relief, the proper side of the path, and for the nearest point of relief. All right, Joe. Once you take your stance so that you're off the path over here, and where the ball would be, sort of a normal shot here for you. And I'm going to put one of these little flags here. You normally would use a tee, but we're going to put the flag so you can see this in the video. Okay, let's go to the other side of the path and do the same thing. A little steeper here, but we're going to ask you to do the same thing. Now this is where the stance in the club is off. Okay, so now we've determined 2 points of relief, and we have to determine the nearest point of relief. And the nearest point of relief to where the ball is, Joe's going to just check this with his club. He's going to check the other side. So you can see that even though this ball's on the right side of the cart path, the flag on the left is the nearest point of relief to that ball. So if Joe wants to take relief, he can do so by dropping the ball within a club length of the flag on the left side of the path, which is his nearest point of relief. So he can drop the ball anywhere within that club length on that left side. So Joe, let's walk through that. Joe's marked his club length. Now if the ball rolls back onto the cart path, he's going to drop it a second time. I'll help him with that. If it does it a second time, he's going to place it where he struck the ground on the second drop. There you go. Okay. Now Joe can play under the rules. Wow, what a great shot. Well, we're standing on the 7th tee, but we're actually taking a shot on the 6th hole, which, as all of you know, is one of the great par 3s in Atlanta. And we're looking at the dropping zone in front of the creek on number 6. And for all of us have at least hit one ball in this creek. And this dropping zone is an additional option for a ball that goes into the water hazard. And most of the time when we do that, we just come right to the dropping zone there that we're aiming at, and we'll play a ball out of that dropping zone over to the 6th green for our third stroke. But that's not the only option that you have. There's something that's different that might be another option that you want to try, and we're going to demonstrate that here. So we're going to show you the 6th green, and if a ball were to land on the other side of the creek there where you can see the hazard stake, if it lands above that hazard stake and bounces back in, then that means the ball has crossed on the far side, and you have an option to keep that point between you and the flagstick and drop a ball as far back as you want to go. And that means you could actually drop it right here where we are standing on the 7th tee. So Joe Hollis, Assistant Golf Course Superintendent, is going to show us exactly what he's doing here. He's going to keep a point where that ball crossed over there, and he's going to drop a ball on that line, and now he's going to play his third stroke from here, which is in accordance with the rules.
Over.
Well, this is number 14, and the right side of number 14 has a lot of activity, and I'm sure all of us at one time or another have hit our balls to the right of number 14 green. We're going to show you some things that will help you in terms of applying the proper relief procedure for water hazard, lateral water hazard, and out of bounds here. You're looking along the line to the flagstick where there is the color change. Now to the left of the color change this creek is marked as a water hazard. And we'll talk about what the water hazard options are later in the seminar. But you can see a flag to the left of the color change, and that flag would be where a golf ball last crossed the margin of the hazard on the water hazard. And your only option, should you choose to take relief from the hazard, is to keep that point between you and the hole and go as far back as you want to go. And that's the line that we're on. So you could drop the golf ball anywhere along this line with a one-stroke penalty if that point is the point where the ball last crossed. As we move a little bit to the right, you can see a second flag, and that flag is to the right of the color change. And you can see that that flag is on the red lateral water hazard. You still have the same option. You could drop the ball on this side of the hazard, keeping the point between you and the hole, but you have a second option, meaning that you could drop the ball within 2 club lengths of that point because it last crossed on the lateral water hazard portion of this marking. Well, we've got another interesting option here on number 14. I've hit my second shot into the lateral hazard to the right, and my option here is to drop the ball within 2 club lengths of the point where it last crossed the margin, which is denoted by the little red flag that we put in there. And I'm going to use my driver to measure my 2 club lengths, and I can actually get the ball onto the putting green. Nothing in the rules that prohibits that, so I'm going to show you how to apply this rule. So I've measured my 2 club lengths. I can drop the ball anywhere within those 2 club lengths. Part of that 2 club lengths is on the putting green, so I'm allowed to drop the ball there. So I'm going to do that. And the ball's in play under the rules. So you might be able to win a little bit from some of your friends on this, so remember it. Now we're going to walk. We're going to show you what happens even further right, and that's where the out of bounds comes into play here on number 14. Charles is going to show you how the hazard is marked, and then he's going to show you where it becomes, it folds into essentially the boundary to the right of the creek. And then we're going to show you a couple of golf balls in 2 different places to the right over here, and I'm sure all of you have experienced this situation in your rounds. Okay, now we're looking along the boundary to the right of number 14, and you can see the red stake as it comes up to the boundary edge. What that means is that the inside points of these 2 white stakes at ground level on the golf course side define the boundary. So anything from that point to the right as you look at it means a ball would be out of bounds. Anything to the left means that it is part of the lateral hazard that comes up to the edge of the boundary. So you can see 2 golf balls between these 2 stakes. One ball is to the right of those 2 stakes. That means it's out of bounds, and the player of that golf ball is going to have to operate under stroke and distance, Rule 27, and play his next stroke from where he last played. The player of the golf ball on the left, that ball's in the lateral hazard. So what he's going to have to do is determine where his ball last crossed the margin of the lateral water hazard and operate from that point with the various options available to him. So those are the kinds of things that can happen on the right side of number 14, and you just need to remember where the golf ball lies, or B, where the golf ball last crossed the margin of the water hazard or lateral water hazard if your ball lies in the water hazard. If your ball lies out of bounds, then you have to operate under the out of bounds rule, which is Rule 27.